What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Ethan. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to another video on this channel. Of course, we're back at Boston Billiard with another poker vlog, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is to just stay safe and healthy during this time. Playing poker right now, I honestly don't recommend it, but I can justify doing this because I want to make these videos for you guys, and also the channel and the videos have been doing so well recently, so really appreciate the support on this channel. Appreciate you guys watching me punt off money left and right, getting quads like it's nobody's business. I didn't get quads last video, unfortunately. Really weird. It's supposed to come at least twice a video, it seems like, but hopefully you guys are all staying safe and healthy. Like I said, can't emphasize that enough. Huge shout out to the last winner of the blue chip here. I'll send you the screenshot. I replied to that comment, so shoot me an email if you did win, and that's really all I got today. Playing another session, six-handed. Hopefully it'll be a good time. Maybe we can run things up. We haven't really been adapting as much, but hopefully we can kind of just start getting less rusty as we go back and play live. With that being said, let's get on to the video. Wish us luck.
Why are we so prepared to open the doors and everything goes to hell apart?
A new 1-3 game gets opened up, and one of the very first hands we pick up is Ace-8 offsuit on the button, playing four-handed. Action folds to me, and here definitely going to be raising and opening pre-flop, so I go with the sizing of $10. The small blind next to act 3-bets me to $25. The big blind folds and actions onto me for $15 more with an ace, definitely going to be calling four-handed, so we're going to a flop. The flop comes 9-8-4 rainbow, and he throws out a c-bet of $25. With middle pair, top kicker definitely not going away just yet, so I make the call for 25 and we're going to a turn. The turn comes the jack of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush draw, and now he checks to us. Given this action in line, I think I'm probably good here a lot of the time, and I don't really want to check this back considering there are so many draws out there. So I throw out a very small bet of $45, and without too much thinking, he decides to make the call for 45. So we're going to a river, hopefully trying to see a brick and hoping that he can check it to us so we can just check it back to go to showdown. The river is exactly that. It's the deuce of clubs, a total brick. He checks to us and definitely not going to be able to bet for value here. I think it'd be really, really thin value, so I just check it back. He shows ace-king offsuit, and we take this one down, getting pretty lucky after being dominated pre-flop. Next hand, we pick up pocket jacks in the big blind, playing six-handed now. The table has filled up. The cutoff opens up the action to $15. The small blind calls and actions onto me with a pretty strong hand, and out of position, I decide to 3-bet on the larger side to $75. Actions back onto the cutoff, who opened pre, and he thinks about it, and then 4-bets us to $300, and only leaving himself with about $150 behind. The small blind folds, and here I tank. Not really sure what to do. It's such an awkward spot with jacks. He certainly can have a ton of premiums in his range, and I think the sizing that he chose was kind of weird. It's really big. It's a really large 4-bet. And I'm torn between what to do. I really don't like folding. I don't like folding jacks pre-flop, and especially since we're only playing six-handed, he could have a few overcards, so we could be flipping. So I decided to just go for it. I 5-bet jam about $450-ish. He calls with pocket queens, and we're gonna need some help on this board. After being crushed with pocket jacks, we add on for the maximum of 500 again and reload our stack. This next hand, we have ace-queen offsuit in the cutoff, and I raise over one limper to $15. The big blind, the player from last hand, 3-bets us to $45. Definitely not going away in position here, so I decide to just make the call, and we're going heads up in the 3-bet pot. Flop comes ace-10-8 rainbow, and he checks to us, which is really strange. I really think that he would have continued firing out, considering it's an ace-high flop. But here, when he checks to us, I'm definitely going to be betting for value, so I throw out a bet of $60. He thinks about it and makes the call for 60, so we're going to a turn. Turn comes the king of diamonds, bringing in the backdoor flush draw, and realistically not the best card in the world for us. But here, the action is kind of interesting, where he reaches for chips and then checks. This, like I've said in previous videos, is a pretty reliable tell for a sign of weakness, I thought. So usually I would check back this turn considering the board texture, but I decided to try to extract some value from him since it seemed like he wanted me to check it back. So with that said, I decided to throw out a larger bet of $165. He quickly announces a raise to $400, which covers my leftover stack. Now I have an easy fold with one pair, unfortunately, but just a pretty unfortunate spot to be in. I guess he was really nutted. Having a king out there on the turn kind of eliminates some combinations of ace-king, but it seems like we're just beat here somehow. Ace-king being the most probable option. Sometimes ace-10 suited, I guess, but here we make the laydown with ace-queen because I don't think he's doing this with ace-jack. So I fold, and he shows pocket eights. So nice hand, Sarin. You got me again, and you are crushing me. The following hand, we pick up pocket jacks once again in the small blind, and we reload back up to $500 in our stack. The cutoff opens up the action to $12, actions onto me in the small blind, and I'm going to 3-bet this 100% of the time. I decide to 3-bet it to a sizing of $40, and he makes the call without too much hesitation. So off to a flop, which comes ace, 9, 10, 2 clubs out there. Just not really a good board for jacks at all. So a little frustrated because it seems like we're probably not going to win this one on an ace high board. I check, and he bets out $75. Really interesting and weird spot. I feel like I guess sometimes I'm playing my hand a little face up since I am 3-betting a strong pair and checking on an ace high board. But I don't know. I decided to just make the call for $75. It seemed really fishy, seemed really big, and I do have the jack of clubs, I guess, for some backdoors. The turn does not bring any of the backdoors to us. It is the 4 of spades, so a total brick. I check, and he has about $150 behind. He thinks about it, he thinks about jamming, and he ends up actually checking it back. I guess I would say I feel a little bit better with him checking back on this turn, potentially just a flush draw. So the river comes in 8. The board's a lot more connected now, and I decide to just check. He now fires a bet of $100, and I just snap call this. The line doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Betting pot essentially on the flop, checking back the turn, and trying to barrel on this river here. So I just make the call, not really believing his story. He shows king 7 of clubs for king high, and we win this one with a pair of jacks. Here, later on, a few hours later, we have 8-6 of clubs in the cutoff. I open up the action to $12 with a suited gapper, just opening up my range a little bit in position here. So the big blind 3-bets us to $27. This is the same player that got us with queens over jacks and also pocket 8s over ace queen. So here, after playing with him for quite some time, it seems like he doesn't really like calling pre-flop much, so he's 3-betting a lot. This smaller sizing of a 3-bet, not really sure what's going on, but I decided to just make the call for $15 more, and we're in position. So the flop comes at 9-8-3 rainbow with 1 club. He leads out for $47, and I am obviously very confused. Here, just facing another weird flop action, I guess. The sizing is really big, basically betting pot, and not really sure what's going on. Is he on a draw? Does he have a set? I'm not really sure, but we do have some backdoors, and we do have middle pairs, so I call the 47, and we're going to a turn. Turn comes the queen of hearts, brings in a backdoor flush draw, and it's a really awful card as jack 10 gets there. I definitely see jack 10 suited as a good candidate to 3-bet and barrel really big on the flop at least, but he checks to us, which is a really good sign. Obviously with a pair of 8s, definitely no need to bet here, so I just check it back. The river comes the 4 of diamonds, and now he bets once again for $65. Just like last hand, it's really weird. Facing a big flop bet, checking the turn, and now firing in on the river. So I decided to just make the call since the line doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The only thing that makes sense is maybe pocket 10s. So I call, he shows ace 4 offsuit, and we take this down with a pair of 8s. Next hand, we have pocket 8s in the big blind with a button straddle. We have $800 in our stack as we've been chipping up a little bit. So the small blind, who's been very active, he decides to limp in for the $5. Here, pocket 8's definitely going to be raising, so I raise to 25. The cutoff and the small blind make the call. 3 ways to a flop, which comes deuce 3-5, 2 hearts. Pretty good flop for pocket 8s here for sure. So when action checks to me, I am definitely going to be c-betting $55. The small blind thinks about it and it makes the call. I've seen him call very often on the flop, so we're going to see what evaluates on the turn. Turn is a beautiful 8. So here, turning top set now, he checks to us, and on such a draw heavy board, and we're both actually sitting very deep, he covers me. I decide to bet on the larger side here to a tune of $160. He thinks about it, and after some deliberation, he decides on a fold. Unfortunately for us, we didn't get any more value with our sets, but always nice to see that card come in. After the pocket 8s hand, we actually step up and look down at pocket aces. Better news, there's a button straddle, and even better news, the small blind opens up the action to $35, the same player from last hand. He covers me, I have 1,000 in our stack, and with pocket aces, we are definitely 3-betting for sure. We elect to 3-bet to a sizing of $115. It folds all the way back to this small blind player, and he makes the call. So considering that he opened up really, really big, seems like he could have a pretty strong hand, so something could definitely be brewing for us here. We're going to a flop heads up in position. The flop comes queen, deuce, 4, rainbow, the driest of dry boards ever. He checks to us, and I decide to down bet $90. We don't really get called by a whole lot if we bet bigger, so trying to get a large portion of his range to make the call, as I can be c-betting with basically any 2 cards if you've been watching this channel. He calls the $90 bet, and we're going to a turn. Turn comes a 6, full rainbow on the board, and he checks to us. We're obviously not too concerned about 3-5 getting there, since I don't think he's going to be raising big pre-flop with that. So now, considering what I want to do, so obviously mainly just trying to target queen X hands now, and I don't think I can get a whole lot of value from 7s through jacks anyways, so here I just size up on the very large side, looking like a bluff because I do this fairly often. I size up to $375 here. This sizing really looks like I want to get a fold since I bet so big on the turn. So he goes into the tank, and after thinking for about a minute or so, he decides on the call. So that is really great news for us. So he calls the 375. This pot has ballooned up, and I only have about $440 in our stack. We're going to a river. Doesn't really matter what it is. We most likely will be shipping it all in. The river comes a 10. Not the best card in the world, since really pocket 10s is a possible holding that he could have. But he checks to us, and there's really 2 options that I have. I can bet really small for value, or I can just go ahead and jam. I elect on the ladder and just decide to rip it all in. This pot is really big, and I only have $440 in our stack, so let's try to get all of it and get a big double up. So I jam, he tanks, and he says that he can't even beat a queen, so it seems like jacks is his most likely holding. If I knew that was the case, I probably would have bet a really small amount, like $150, $190. But with pocket jacks, he folds, so we don't get the full double up, but we certainly do win a really, really large pot with aces. What an up and down session. Not too bad, just walking out of here. We played for maybe a little bit over 3.5 hours, give or take. The action was always pretty good at 1-3. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, 1-3 seems to be a little bit better action than the 1-2 tables, just bigger stacks. And I think like the first hour, stacks were just flying left and right. Mainly mine. I was in the game for 1150 and I reloaded like instantly. That pocket jacks hand was literally like the first maybe 10 minutes of the game opening up. So I was in for 1150, out for 1475, which is nice. We'll take the profits. Climbed all the way back up Maybe missed some value with aces. Could have down bets really small, so maybe like $190, $200. Could have gotten a call from jacks, but it is what it is. That's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really happy to book a win, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Leave a like, comment down below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.